earning back my scholarship and playing football there at Hyde Community College. First game, our tailback went down. Second game, our second team tailback wasn't doing the job. The coach called me to the office. He said, Barbie, he said, you used to play running back in high school at Lawrence. I said, yeah. He said, would you be willing to switch for the team? I said, sure, coach. So I switched from wide receiver to running back. And the call of God was already on my life. Believe it or not, the first game at tailback at Hyde Community College, I broke the school rushing record, and it still stands today. 278 yards, 29 carries, 3 touchdowns, just 3 quarters of work. So that year I began to excel on the football field and began to move up the ranks, and to the point that at the end of my freshman year I was an All-American. I became the leading rusher in all-purpose in junior college football. So now I'm sitting at the top of the mountain. My life is set up in dreams, destruction, disgrace, and deliverance. My dreams of playing college ball, I had met it. I began to get college recruiting letters from all across the country: Stanford University, Oregon University, Northwestern University, West Texas State, West Virginia. All the big-time schools were recruiting little old me, Stephen Barber from Highland. But drug addiction had its grips. And that was a defense I could not defeat. Eventually, I went to a small school in Nebraska and played there at Peru State on a full-ride football scholarship. And as we began to pursue the season, addiction got its grips on me again. One day in the midst of a blackout, I got into several fights one night, and I woke up the next morning and I had a black eye and my fist was swollen, and I get a call and they said, you need to go to the dean's office. And I'm like, well, why is that? And they said, they need to talk to you about last night. And I said, what about last night? He said, you don't know. He said, you got in several fights. And he said, we're going to suspend you and kick you out of school. I lost my full-ride football scholarship because of my addiction. I got kicked out of school. My dreams now have become a nightmare. When I come home, I was very broken, and I went. My dad said, son, what did you do? And I told him. And so now I'm back in the wilderness wondering, what is my purpose in life? And addiction just kept following me, kept following me, kept following me. And eventually I became the offense coordinator at Haskell Indian Nation University. I was the first ever African-American coach there at Haskell. And here I am back on the mountaintop. I said, man, I can finally be an offense coordinator. My dreams were ready to happen again, but no addiction followed me. Until one night I took some of the players out, went out partying, and one of the assistant coaches saw me sneaking the players back into the dorm, and the head coach said, either we fire you or you resign. And I said, let me resign. And, I think sometimes we try to change our location, so I decided to move to Chicago. I said, a fresh start, nobody knows me, let me just get back on my feet. Moved to Chicago, but I forgot I'm taking myself and my addiction to Chicago. Get to Chicago and relocate and get back on my feet, but then crack cocaine is an epidemic in the city of Chicago, and I began to smoke crack, and all of a sudden I found myself homeless and on the street and wandering the streets of Chicago. And now it's about 1991, and I'm wandering the streets of Chicago, and I still have my dad, still have my family, and I'm wandering there in the streets of Chicago. Ended up at Pacific Garden Mission, which is one of the country's oldest and largest rescue missions. And I got there and began to search myself, and I searched God. Eventually, God delivered and set me free just for a season. Once again, my dreams have been fulfilled. So eventually, as I began to continue my journey of life, and eventually I got married and had 2 kids and ended up getting my degree at Trinity International University, things were going well again until one day my first wife chose to walk out with my 2 kids. Me there working on my master's degree, a person of addiction. One day I came home to a big old house, and I always said the old lie to myself, one won't hurt. I went to the store and bought me a 40 ounce. I said, nobody would know. Now here I was at outreach work. I was taking people to drug treatment. I was taking people to different facilities. I would drop them off at the drug facility, then I would go directly to the drug house and smoke. Talk about a hypocrite. second week of personal addiction, I went and I bought 240 ounces. And then this night, my old self said, you know what, you haven't had a blast of crack in over 10 years. I chose to go and smoke crack that night. I'll never forget $700 I smoked. Eventually, I went to my executive director and told her, I said, you know, I'm struggling. So I resigned from my position there in Chicago. I began to look at my life, my journey. I said, maybe if I get back home, now it's 2000, maybe if I get back home, things have changed. You know, get back around family, get back around support, get back home where people knew me. But I forgot that I was bringing myself addiction back to Lawrence, Kansas. Not knowing my mom was sick, had cancer. 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, my mom passed away. So now it's me and my dad at home. I said, Dad, I need to get myself back together again. My addiction took off so bad, my full name is Leo Stephen Barbie, just like my dad, and so I began to take my dad's checks and began to cash them. See, addiction will take you to a place and keep you there too long. I'll never forget the day my dad comes and says, son, why have you done that? Why have you gone into my bank account? Because, you know, checks finally came and things started bouncing. Didn't know how to begin. I had spent over $800 on my dad's own personal bank account. So eventually I got myself back together and I moved to the city of Topeka, and I thought my life was together. I'm back in church, I'm working, I'm doing the thing that I thought was right. One day, two men walked into my job I'd never seen before. But I'll never forget the date and time. It was December 21st, 2007. Gentleman walked in and said, are you Stephen Ward? I said, yes. I said, could we please talk to you? And I'm like, why? He said, you're under arrest. I said, for what? He said, 5 kilos of crack cocaine. I said, I know you have the wrong person. Not realizing my addiction, going back and forth to the drugs was a place that was under surveillance, and not knowing that I was getting ready to get caught up in a big federal drug conspiracy. So between December 21st and May, I didn't understand, how did I get ready to extend to life? God, why? Tend to life. So in the midst of pre-trial and getting out on bond, I was able to get out, and all of a sudden, you know, I chose to go back and use on a Friday. I never forget. Saturday morning, they called me in to give me UA, and it almost hit me. I tried to drink so much water, and I couldn't flush it out. And so Monday morning at 8:05, Michelle, I'll never forget, my court service person called me. She said, Mr. Barbie, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm doing fine, Ms. Christian. She said, oh, no, you're not. She said, what I'm looking at now, she said, I'm in the process of revoking your bond. She said, you're going to lose your freedom. Never forget, May 12th, I got locked up and got sent to see Leavenworth, and now I'm really facing my addiction. Going through the court process and figuring out how to get caught up in this big old 13-man drug conspiracy. How, you know, I'm Pastor Barbie's son, I'm Miss Ann's son, I'm all American, you know, all that did not matter when I was facing my addiction. August 29th of 2009, I stood before the judge and got sentenced to 70 months in federal prison. 70 months. I get shipped to Pekin, Illinois, and in the midst of that, see, God is a God of restoration. God is a God that restores us. And because God called me from my mother's womb, I already been in the ministry. My place of working in the federal system was in the chapel. I was able to use my spiritual gifts in the chapel. I was able to get some free education. So now I know about all the different religions, from all the Muslim religions, from all the Wiccans, from all the different religions. I was able to get a free education on the government. We moved fast forward, and I went from Pekin to Forest City, and in the federal system they have an RDAP, it's a 500 drug program, and I was able to get in there and complete that. And upon completion, I got an early release. I got out January 18, 2012. Kansas City, breaking barriers. God says, no, I want you to live re-entry, because eventually you're going to help re-entry. So I remember there at the halfway house on Campbell Street, and I was there, and I did not know where to get my ID, and so they said, you need to go to 2100 Truth. I said, I'm not from Kansas City, where is that? They said, you need to figure it out. You got 2 hours to leave and to get back. Desire pushed me to find 2400 Truths. I went there and I got my ID and I got back in time. And then they said, now you need to go get your ID. I said, where did I go get my ID? They said, you need to go downtown. I said, remember, I'm not from Kansas City. They said, you need to figure it out yourself. I began to talk, where's the meeting be at? They began to tell me. So I had a 2-hour pass to get downtown. Now I got my proper documentation to pursue employment, and not knowing my way around Kansas City, not knowing my connection, but God has a ram in the bush. My good friend Ricky Peters, sitting here this morning, picks me up. I said, Rick, y'all has a 4-hour pass. And we begin to fellowship. He took me from place to place. Place to place. Application here. Disappointment there. Re-entry, that's what we're here, right? Re-entry. As I begin this process of re-entry from incarceration to society and the different hurdles and the different barriers and the different labels. I remember I went on my first job and I was so excited. And I'm sitting there in the midst of the interview and the lady stops me and she says, sir, I'm so sorry. She said, I didn't see that you had marked the box. She said, this interview is over. We can't hire felons. I said, miss, I just had to ask you one question. If I was not a felon, would you have hired me? She said, most definitely, Mr. Barr, with your background, with your capability, with your expertise, I would have hired you today. But the boss. So I turned around and I thanked her. She said, why are you thanking me? I said, because I have to get over these hurdles of no's. Because there's a yes out there calling my name. I said, this is not the place that I'm supposed to work at. So I went over a couple more hurdles because I recognized re-entry is a process and not a destination. And so as I began to go and pursue employment, God is a God of restoration. My first place of employment after 73 days in search of the City Union Mission. At one time I was on staff at Pacific Garden Mission in Chicago, so God said, no, I'm still calling you back to the mission. It's just in a different location. God restored me back, and I began to serve there at City Union Mission, and God began to open doors in my life, and as I continued my transition back into society, I was there, and God began to open doors in my life, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm like, wow, re-entry. The process, the transition, from having a number to now having my name restored. You know, I'm not supposed to be here this morning, Michelle, to be honest with you. The court says that, Mr. Barber, you had 5 years to do on paper. I'm supposed to be off paper in June of 2017. Because my probation and it says I could not leave the Kansas City area within 50-mile radius. I think Cameron's a little bit further than 50 miles. But see, God is a God of restoration. And I never forget the day when I went and talked to my lawyer and I said, I want to get off paper. She said, why should you get off paper? And I began to tell her all the good things I've done. I never forget March 3rd, 2014, as I walked into that courtroom, the same judge that gave me 70 months, and the government stood up and they had their opening introduction and they said, Mr. Bart is a menace to society, and the judge stopped them. He said, if you don't have anything against this man since his release, sit down. Rickety sat down. My lawyer stood up and shared everything that I had done since my release. And the judge hit the gap and said, Mr. Barney, you're a free man. I was able to get off paper early. I got my voting rights restored. See, re-entry is a process. If you believe in that individual, you allow them to be inspired to do everything that we ask them to do. Day in and day out, they come into my office and they don't know my story, but I said, God, you're a God that's going to set them up like a chess game. And they walk in there like a pawn. They don't know I'm the queen, so I'm going to move. So I tell them to move. And they give me all the excuses. I can't get a job. I said, why can't you get a job? I said, because I'm a felon. I said, that's not true. He said, yes, it is. I said, no, it's not. He said, well, how can you say that? I said, because I'm a felon and I'm working. I said, maybe it's because of your attitude. If you don't change your attitude, it's going to be hard for you to gain employment. I just want to thank God for what he's done in my life and restored me back and taken my life's broken pieces and put them back together again, that my brokenness I can share with others. Day in and day out, I share with people the power of restoration. And as we go forth, you have to understand the label that society places on the population we serve. 2 days ago, I was talking to a young man. I said, do you want to work? And the first thing that shot out of his mouth is, I'm a felon. He did not give me his name. He did not give me his address. He says, I'm a felon. I said, sir, you're much more than a felon. You're a man that has a need to work. I want to encourage you as I go to my seat. And when I look back over my life and I thought I wanted to be a teacher, and I thought I wanted to be a coach, God said, you know what? Your reentry is a lesson. Your message is a lesson. So I've learned to embrace everything in my life. I've learned to embrace my setbacks, my setups, and that allows me to serve. I want to thank you for allowing me to come and to share some of my story about how God is a God of restoration. I can take broken pieces and put them back together again, and that everything that you and I do is not about us, but it's about us bringing praise and honor and glory to God. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen. Restoration and change, that's what it's all about. And I do believe that people can change. And I believe there's an example right there. And I believe wholeheartedly that helping others is something we all need to do. Not only for them, but for ourselves. We have workshops, as you've seen, in different areas. If you need help finding where you need to go, see myself, Joe, Dave at the back of the room will get you where you need to go. You'll have a workshop from 9:30 to 10:30, and we'll have a 15-minute break. As I said before, over in the building next to us, there are exhibits, there's tables, there'll be people over there. We've got lots of great things. We have Green Hills Women's Shelter has a table over there. Recess Reentry has a table over there. If you want to volunteer, let us know. Puppies for Parole from Western Missouri Correctional Center. Got some puppies out there, some dogs for you to see. Cameron Police Department got lots of different things out there, so I encourage you to go out there and check that out. We will have lunch at noon. We'll be eating in there. So we'll meet in here at 12:30 for our keynote speaker. I want to do a couple prize drawings and get us started off right this morning so that we can have some fun. I think y'all need to liven up a little bit. So why don't y'all get up, turn around and say hi to somebody, say good morning, shake somebody's hand, introduce yourself to somebody, and come on. That's better. That's alive this morning. We're going to have some fun. Introduce yourself, meet some people, network, get to know some people. And I know you girls may not want to